Hi, Scott here, and I thought with the return of gmpuzzles.com giving us regular daily puzzle content, I thought it would be pretty fun to try and solve a puzzle with you guys, kind of educationally. I'm not going to do it for time, because there are a lot of people who are a lot faster than me at solving puzzles, but I thought we could just go through some of the basic tips and tricks that you can use to solve puzzles so that you can get better at them. The puzzle we're going to look at today, which is June 1st, is today's balance loop puzzle, which is by Murat Tonta, who's a pretty prolific puzzle creator. And let's talk about the rules of a balance loop. So the way a balance loop works is your job is to create a loop. You have to go through all of the circles, but you do not have to go through all of the squares. So if you go through a white circle, what that means is the length of the segment that goes one way through the circle must be the exact same length as the segment that goes the other way through a circle. So for example, if we look at this circle up here, let's say it could possibly be one segment long and one segment long. So this goes one out of the circle this way, and it goes one out of the circle this way. Or perhaps it goes 2 and 2 before turning. So this is 2 segments long, this is 2 segments long. Or possibly it could go 2 in this direction. So it doesn't actually have to turn. It could go straight as long as the segment on one length is the same as the segment on the other. If it hits a black circle, the exact opposite is true. What that means is that it has to go different lengths in and out of that circle. So for example, if this one is 1 long before turning, what I know is that this could be any other length other than 1. Could be 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, but it cannot be 1 long. So that's the general idea. There is one other rule about balance loop puzzles, and that is if there is a number inside one of these circles, what that number tells us is that that is the total sum of all of the lengths of the segments leaving that circle. So for example, if there was a 4 in this circle up here, we know that it would have to go 2 and 2. Because it has to be balanced, the only way to do a balance with a number 4 is 2 and 2. Or, for example, if it was a 6, we would know it would go 3 and 3, for example. If a number is in a black circle, it means the same thing. So let's say there was a 4 here. Well, we know that it can't be balanced, so it would have to go 1 and 3, or it would have to go 3 and 1, but we know it could not go 2 and 2. So those are the basic rules, and they come together and form some pretty interesting puzzles. You'll notice the theme on this puzzle is that there are no numbers, which is a little bit unusual, but not unheard of. So let's take a look at it and see what we can figure out. First thing I notice is that the corners, since the loop has to go through every circle, it's got to go through both corners. So let's take a look at this circle up here. We know it has to be balanced. So if it goes 1 and 1, then it has to turn, but unfortunately that closes the loop immediately. So we know it can't go 1 and 1. So let's say it goes 2 and 2. Now you'll notice that it immediately hits this circle. And what I know about this circle is that it goes 2 up, which means that to stay balanced, it's got to go to the right 2, or it's got to go down 2. So let's say it goes down 2. What that means is this length from this circle is now 4, which means that this length would have to be 4. But we know that that can't be because this circle right here would then not be balanced. Notice it goes 3 to the left and it goes 1 to the right. So that means it can't go 4. It's got to go, instead of 2 down, it's got to go 2 to the right and then stop. So now that we know this goes 2 down and turns, we know this has to go to the right 2 and then turn. And then it cannot go down because it would close the loop prematurely. And it can't go to the left because that would end up in a dead end situation. So instead, it's got to go to the right. And then this circle tells us it has to go up and to the right. So next step, let's take a look at this circle right here. We know it goes 2 to the left. We know it has to be balanced, so we're going to go 2 down. This circle has very similar logic. We know it goes 1 down, and we want it to be balanced, so it's got to go 1 to the right and then come down. This circle right here is now kind of fixed, so we know it has to go through it, and then the path has to continue this way. Now we want this circle to be unbalanced, so we know it goes 1 to the left, which means it cannot go just 1 downwards. So we'll go 1 more, and then this loop will swing around and come this way, and these will follow. This will come 1 more so it doesn't close the loop. So now we can look at this black circle right here. We know it goes 3 to the left. So that means we know it cannot go 3 up, which it couldn't anyway. And we know it can't go 3 to the right. So if we take a look and we try to go to the right, notice that if we go to the right, we'll hit this one and we'll end up going 3, which we don't want to do. You can see that if I draw it, it goes 1, 2, 3, and it goes 1, 2, 3. So that's bad. We know it can't do that, so it must go up. Then this cannot close the loop prematurely, so we've got to go up. And then this over here has to go up, and so does this. So the next bit I think is the most interesting, and it's again a rule that you see a lot in balanced loop puzzles if you've solved them before. This black circle right here, it's got to leave in 2 directions. If it leaves in this direction, it's going to go one segment long. If it leaves in this direction, it's got to go 1 segment. And if it leaves in this direction, it's going to go 1 segment. But it's got to go more than 1 at some point in order to be unbalanced. So that means it's got to go at least 2 down. So now what? Well, this circle right here, we know that it goes 2 up at least, which means it's got to be balanced. So it's got to be 2 to the left at least, or 2 down at least. So let's say it goes 2 down. Well, then what happens is this will end up having to connect back to that circle, and it'll actually have to go up and over to keep this balanced. But then that closes the loop, and we don't want that to happen. So that means it can't go down. What it has to do is it has to go to the left. And once you get that, this puzzle is pretty much solved. This would have to connect this way. This we know goes 2 to the left, which means this goes 2 up. So this would have to come to the right and then downwards. And then this black circle needs to be hit, so it would finish off like that. So there is your completed puzzle. I like this one. It uses a lot of very simple, basic, but I think interesting balanced loop logic. So if you understood this, then I think you're ready to try other puzzles of the same variety. Hopefully this was educational for you, and hopefully we can do this again sometime. Thanks a lot.